You're welcome again to the channel. I'm so glad you're here. I hope you've had a good day so far. So today we just want to talk about 5 things I wish I had known before starting a PhD. Yeah, I did my PhD in architecture. As an academic, you're expected to engage in a PhD study. So I wish I had known, right? That is actually a journey about self. Irrespective of the topic you're going into, it's really about discovering you and unearthing knowledge from your own perspective. So I wish I had known that so that I don't get scared of getting to know me. Second one, I wish I had known that there is need to have a very good support structure. When you're doing your PhD, you need to have a very good support structure, both at home and in your academic field. You need to have people that you can turn to. It may not always be in one person. You may have a group of people that you can turn to ask for support. And in that way, some will encourage you, some will discourage you. You want to take those ones out. But also, some will be very critical about you, and tell you the truth as direct as they feel would make you get your act together. So those type of people, a critic, a cheerer, and the last C would be the comforter, that could guide you along. I also feel it's good to understand the system you are in. Doing your PhD, you also need to understand the structure in which you are learning. You need to know your administrative support structure. You need to know the kind of support your university, your institution is giving you, be it an online structure, be it seminars that you can attend, support groups that are available. You need to really tap into those because that would help you in progressing. And the last point will be to actually ask for help. Find those you can ask for help from and be good to yourself. Yeah, so doing a PhD, you need to find a field that would sustain you. I remember my supervisor asking me, what would keep you up at night? You're thinking about it, you're delving into it, it bothers you, it bothers your inner core. And the other part about it is that it's new. A PhD is new knowledge, is novel. So it's not something that has been done before. And you now have to put it together, package it in a way that it makes sense. I like to use the idea of even a laptop. When we had Compaq and all those old desktop, someone now said, no, we could have a laptop. I was like, okay, a laptop, it would be in my hand. And now we've gone past that. We're using cellular phones, so it moves around with you. So it's something it's never known until it's thought of, and that is the process you're going through. People won't understand what you're talking about initially, but by digging in, even you won't understand what you're talking about, but it bothers you. There's something I need to unravel this, and then as you continuously unpack it, bring knowledge in, do more reading, more research, more digging, determining what your key terms are, determining what your key questions are. What really are you on about? In my case, I was looking at the informal settlements and it was like, what about it? What are you trying to say about it? There's so much that has been done about it. But from an architectural perspective, I needed to actually delve into it the more to see the informal settlements and how people actually live day after day and even generation after generation in what we call informal settlements. So it needs to be something that you want to unravel, but that would also improve humanity as a whole. To now say, because we know this, we can now do this better. Or because we know this, it impacts policy. Or because we know this, when I design the built environment, it needs to take into consideration the lost spaces because those spaces are where the urban marginalized would find themselves in. So it's quite a journey. It needs to be something that would sustain you for the 3 years, not that when you get 1 year into it you now start feeling, no, this is not really what I want. You need to have those questions, you need to have those theories, you need to have the conceptual thinking, even case studies that And literature, literature, I'm definitely going to do a video on doing your literature search, your literature review. Just knowing what has been said before, on your topic would definitely guide you in knowing what is the gap, what do we need to unravel, and how can you get into the research for your PhD. And then you can decide upfront whether you want to use your PhD and remain in academia, or you want to take your PhD and go into industry. There are two different paths that you can follow in making use of your PhD. It's also highly important that you select a supervisor that you can work with. You want a supervisor who can appreciate where you are as an individual, not just your research topic, because your supervisor is so key. I was lucky to have a lovely supervisor, Dr. now Professor Claudia Logia, and I also had um, a very well-known, renowned supervisor in the architecture field, Professor Wally Peters. And having that, for me, it was just the best combination. For somebody else, they may be able to work with one supervisor. Some others may need three supervisors because one supervisor is funding, another one is coming with the knowledge, and another is coming with the administrative role, in keeping you on the straight and narrow. So my combination worked because Prof. Wally came in with the architectural knowledge. He kept us within the field of study, and then my in-house, Professor Logia, now Professor Logia, she also kept me going. I could see her and talk to her at every point and say, I'm not really sure, what I'm doing or what I'm saying. And she would ask me some questions and then I'll be able to go along. So you need a supervisor that you can work with. That being said, I know many people they're not fortunate enough to have supervisors who are available and who are actually accessible, to give that kind of guidance. That's why I started that program, to just help candidates who are lost. You find yourself lost in the wilderness. My supervisor didn't respond. My supervisor has traveled. My supervisor is busy. Is really to come on almost like a surrogate where you can display your weaknesses and display your ignorance that you don't want your supervisor to know about because you don't have a good relationship. That's a role I think I'm really there for, because we would talk about it, we would express our shock. I remember speaking to one candidate, I was like, what are you saying? you know because she didn't know, and that's the point I always like to make. If you don't know, you don't know. And if you don't know, you don't know, you are worse off. And so when we now come to a point to see, wow, I really don't know that I have a support structure with my university. I have a subject librarian I can talk to. I have everything I need, to make it work. If you don't know, you have that, you're not going to reach out to those things. So I think it's extremely important that you select your supervisor well. Select one that you feel is knowledgeable about your topic, but also that you can work with. And then you'd have a good journey. Yeah. So in essence, doing your PhD is not a dash. It's a journey of discovery. You need to know that you can create the time and space, not just in the physical, but even in your mind. You cannot be bogged down with too many cares of life. Think you are chasing money, chasing your study. You need to get things in place, so that you can give it your mental thinking capacity. It's actually a study that requires your well-being. It requires your mental well-being, your physical well-being, even your spiritual well-being, because God is the God of all knowledge. I mean, who should you run to if not Him? To guide you into all truth, even concerning your study. Yeah. So do subscribe, and I hope that it would be a blessing to you. Thank you.